Hi everyone, I'm Peggy at Portraits by Peggy. And I know normally my vlog is photography related, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about lymphedema. What is lymphedema and why are we talking about it today? Well, today, March 6th, is World Lymphedema Day. And lymphedema is something that's very personal to me because I have secondary stage 2 lymphedema in my left leg. Now, some of you have probably never heard of lymphedema before, and that's okay. I'd love to tell you a little bit about it. But before I can talk about lymphedema, I first need to talk about our lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is all throughout your body. Our body has over 600 collection sites or lymph nodes. And that's basically the transport or the traveling part of the immune system. And what happens is it takes white blood cells or infection fighting cells and transports them to the part of the body that needs help. And then it takes away the toxins and the waste and the unwanted part. Now, in a healthy working lymphatic system, your lymphatic system dissolves the unwanted fat, extra body fluid, and waste and toxins and carries it away so that your body can get rid of it. But when your lymphatic system is compromised, it gets bottlenecked and those fluids sit there, and the toxic oxygen-deprived lymph fluids are a breeding ground for infections and illnesses such as cancer. Now, that's what lymphedema is. Lymphedema is when your lymphatic system is compromised and it's not able to mobilize the cells the way it's supposed to. So there's primary lymphedema, which basically means you were born with it. And there's a few different types of that. I'm not going to go into that. And there's secondary lymphedema. That means that it was caused by either an illness, cancer, the radiation, surgery, or an injury. Mine happens to have been caused by an injury. And I'm in stage 2. Basically that means I have, the skin is hardened, I have a lot of fibrotic skin. Elevating my leg no longer does anything to decrease the swelling. And, you know, I have to do other things to overcome that and take care of that. Now that you know a little bit about what lymphedema is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I was a very healthy, active 28-year-old. I had 2 young children, 7 and 5, and I was raising my nephew who was 15 at the time. I like to power walk, I Tae-boed, I like to work out, I love to travel. In May of 1999, we were traveling out of state, and I woke up one morning and my leg was swollen. Not just swollen, but swollen. I had no idea what I'd done. There wasn't anything that I'd done like the day before. I didn't twist my ankle or anything. It was so swollen, I was in so much pain I could hardly walk. We got back home, I went to the doctor. They had no idea what was going on. They ran several tests. They put me on diuretics, which later I found out is pretty much lymphedema 101, what not to do. But they had no idea. They tried a lot of things. Some things just didn't work at all, and some things made it worse. But nothing made it better. Years went by. I spent a lot of time in bed. I missed out on a lot of my kids' childhood because I was just in too much pain to do anything. The swelling persisted. I gained over 80 pounds. The doctors couldn't tell me why I was gaining weight, why my leg was swelling, why I had chronic pain, why I had chronic fatigue. No one knew what was going on. 8 years went by. Now at this point I was wearing 2 different sizes of shoes. On my left side I wore a size 9. On my right side I wore size 7.5. I had to wear baggy jeans just so my leg would fit in my jeans. You know, I was constantly in pain. I just, you know, dealt with it. I just moved forward, and, you know, good days I worked and did things. Bad days I laid down and kept my foot up. Well, one day a podiatrist came into the portrait studio for headshots, and he noticed my leg and he asked me what had happened, and I told him my story, and he said, "You know what, I want you to come into my office. I want to examine you." So I did. I went in there and he examined my leg, and he immediately said, "Oh wow, you have lymphedema, and it's really serious." Well, I was thrilled. I was so excited because for 8 years I didn't know what it was, and I always thought as soon as I know what it is, we'll fix it. I just need to know what it is so we know how to fix it. So I was like, "Oh, that's great. What do we do to fix it?" And he said, "It's incurable. There's no fix." I honestly don't know what was worse, the not knowing and constantly hoping, or finding out that, yes, this is a problem and this is something that you will have to deal with the rest of your life. It was tough. It was really tough. Another question you may have is, why in the world did I go to doctor after doctor for 8 years and no one could diagnose this, and I go to a podiatrist and boom, he has the answer? Well, this is a question I struggle with, but to the best of my understanding, here's the only rational answer that I can come up with. Your average doctor, your general practitioner, your family practitioner, even though the lymphatic system is credited as the most important system of your body, the average doctor spends less than 2 hours studying about the lymphatic system their entire time in medical school. Obviously, it's more if they go into a specialty, oncology or so forth, you know, where they deal with these kind of things. But you're just your general practice doctor, less than 2 hours studying the most important system in our body. That's what we're here to try to change. But anyway, so the podiatrist wrote a letter of diagnosis for me to take to my primary doctor so that he could refer me to an occupational therapist so that I could learn how to control my leg, how to do the best I can, get it under control, and continue to live my life. So my insurance paid for 8 visits to an occupational therapist, and her job was to teach me how to do manual lymph drainage and to do a multi-layer compression bandage wrap and how to take care of my leg. So after we got the size of my leg down to as small as we could, I was then prescribed a compression garment. Now this garment was 2 pieces. One was a toe cap that went around each of my toes, and the other was like 3/4 of a pantyhose that went all the way up and around to the mid-thigh of my other leg. So every day I wore the compression garment during the day and I wrapped at night. At this time I was spending about 4 hours a day just taking care of my leg, just so I could walk, just so I can continue to walk and enjoy my life and continue to live my life. Now, I never stopped searching. Now I have a name. I was on the internet. I was talking to people. I was researching everything that I could possibly do. But in 2007, there wasn't a lot of information out there, less than now, which, you know, is really scary. So I started a Facebook support group, and there was about 200-300 of us that joined, and we talked. We talked about the different things the doctors didn't tell you about: the chronic pain, the fatigue, the sicknesses, all the little things, and the emotional side of it. You know, the one thing that a lot of people don't think about when they see somebody that's fighting a disease or a condition is that there's the emotional side of that as well. I mean, you know, here I am dragging around a huge leg. You know, some people have lymphedema in their arm. You know, different limbs are affected. But you're having to walk around in public, and you know people are staring at you, and you know people are wondering and talking, and you're in pain and you're tired, and you know, I can't go put a dress on and heels on and, you know, look cute. That's just something that I can't do. And those are the emotional things that doctors aren't ever going to talk to you about. So the support group was amazing, to talk to other people and find out that, hey, I'm not the only one out here dealing with this. I'm not the only freak or the only whatever. There's other people out there. And we would tell each other, hey, did you try this? Have you heard of this? And, you know, so we could research. And, you know, it was an amazing group. And I'm so thankful for every one of those people that have become really close friends of mine. But what I realized is I was actually pretty fortunate, because a lot of people's insurance didn't even cover visits to the occupational therapist so that they could be taught how to care for their leg. I had a friend in the East Coast, and he had lymphedema in the same leg as I did, and he was begging me, please teach me how to do this. And I was like, how in the world? He's in the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. How am I going to show him how to do this? And then my sister, she's in the Midwest, and she's like, what do you do every day? What, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, she wanted details. Everybody wanted to know. So I thought, well, I'll make a video, and, you know, I'll just make a video how to wrap your leg, and I'll tell my story, how, you know, how I take care of my leg, you know, kind of what my day is. Now, I know all my subscribers here watch my vlog and assume that I know what I'm doing with video, but I don't. I'm a portrait photographer, still portraits. That's it. I don't know anything about video. All this is thanks to my son. But, so I didn't know how to make this video. But, you know, I got my daughter's little pocket camera. She had a little pocket Sony camera, and I put it on a tripod, and, you know, I videoed this little video. And I thought I'd email it to these two people. But guess what? You can't email a video, especially not in 2007. So I was like, how am I going to get this video to them? And my son said, well, just open a YouTube account and upload it, and you can send them the link. Well, he was pretty much speaking a foreign language to me, so he did all that. I sent them the link, and they watched it, and they were happy, and, you know, that was it in my mind. But then all of a sudden, I was getting emails and messages on my YouTube account saying, from doctors, from therapists, from people saying, can we use this? Can we use this for our patients? You know, they were just starving for it. This video that was meant for 2 people to see just blew my mind that over 45,000 people watched this video. And it's cheesy. If you think my vlogs are cheesy, this video is way worse. But, you know, because there's just no information, nothing at all out there. Thank God now there's great professionally done videos out there by professionals that know all of the information, and, you know, it's really helpful. But in 2007, there was nothing out there. 2008, 2009, kind of was a turn for the worse for me. I was on all sorts of medication. I was on Percocet for the pain. I was on another pill for the nerve pain. I was on a stomach pill because these pills messed up my stomach, and then those pills messed up my thyroid, so I was on a thyroid pill. I was on, I don't know, I was on 3 or 4 other pills on top of that. And then I started getting cellulitis infections in my leg. Now, that's really common because those toxins are just sitting there, so even a small scratch on my leg can turn into a huge infection. So my doctor talked to me about amputating my leg. Now, that's a conversation that no one ever wants to have. I talked to 2 other doctors. Another doctor agreed. But the 3rd doctor, he had concerns about it. His concerns were that I have abdominal swelling, not just, you know, when I swell bad, the swelling goes clear up into my abdomen and even my arms. And he was concerned that possibly the lymphatic system was damaged more than just in my leg, and if we took my leg off, it wasn't going to cure the problem. I would just swell elsewhere. And he said there was just, he felt too many risks with that, so obviously I kept my leg. In 2010, I got really sick. I went to the doctor, and he explained to me that I had C. diff. Now, C. diff is what's caused when you're on too many strong antibiotics for too long. and they kill everything, the good and the bad, and it basically shuts down your digestive system. So I was not absorbing any nutrition. So the food I ate was just going through and nothing was being absorbed. So the doctor told me, these antibiotics have caused this. We need to put you in the hospital immediately and put you on, you guessed it, more antibiotics. So I grabbed my keys and I grabbed my cell phone and I stood up from the doctor's office and I said a couple of choice words to him. But bottom line, I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. I think I'll go home and die in peace. And I really meant it. I really thought that this 11-year struggle with pain and fatigue and a swollen leg and infections and frustration was over. I really thought I was going home and I was going to have to tell my kids goodbye. Now, I got home and walked upstairs to my bedroom and my phone rang. And it was a photographer. Now, I was in a group with photographers and, you know, we met and did different projects, just mainly for fun. Some of it was work for charity and different things, but this project was a fun project. And he called me and he said, you know, he started going on and on about this project Saturday. And I said, you know what? I'm not coming Saturday. And he goes, oh, you have to come. You're the only portrait photographer in the group. We need you. You have to be there, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, I'm not going. Now, I don't know him. I mean, he's in my group, but I don't know him. And he goes, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And I thought that was so rude. It's like, who asks somebody when they say they're sick? Who asks? Anyway, I said, well, if you must know, I have C. diff, and I'll probably be dead in a couple of weeks. And the tone of his voice immediately changed, and he said, oh my God, you get up here right now to Carlsbad and you come see me right now. And I said, no, I'm very sick. I'm going to lay down in bed and feel sorry for myself right now. And he said, no. He goes, you know I'm a doctor, right? And you know that I have a holistic practice, and you need to come see me right now. Like right now. And I said, okay. Now, to make a super long story a little bit shorter, I got myself to Carlsbad, and he drew some blood from my finger, analyzed it under the microscope, told me everything that was going on with me. He also said, you have problems with your lymphatic system. See, I hadn't told him I had lymphedema. And I said, yes, I do. I have lymphedema. I've had it for 13 years. And he said, oh, I can fix that too, and blah, 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 blah. And so, very long story short, within 3 months, I had lost 84 pounds. Within 4 months, I was off all of my medication. I was weaning myself off of my compression garment. I mean, you have to understand, for several years, my leg was in compression, so my muscles were weak, my ligaments were weak, because that had that compression on it 24/7. I was wrapped at night. I wore the compression garment during the day. So I couldn't just take off the compression garment. It was a gradual thing. I had to take it off a few hours now and then. So I was weaning myself off of that. Now, you know, today, I mean, this has been several years. I'm not cured. I still have lymphedema. Here's a picture of what my legs look like right now, which is honestly pretty good for somebody with secondary stage 2 lymphedema. A lot of pictures that you'll see on the internet are much more scary than this. Believe me, I've looked at them all. I've seen them all. For a while, I was definitely headed down that road. My leg at one point was 3 times larger than my right leg. So I'm not cured, but it's definitely managed and it's definitely under control. I hate the fact that lymphedema controls my life. I want to control my lymphedema. But in a lot of ways it does control my life, because before I do anything, I have to consider how it's going to affect my leg. If I want to go have a glass of wine with friends, I have to decide, how's my leg been doing? What do I have going on for the rest of the week? Could this possibly cause a flare-up? If I want to eat pizza, that's, if I want to go out to eat, there's every little thing. If I want to go for a hike, what are the consequences that I may face? And I always have to think ahead, what's going on for the next week, because if I do something today, I may pay for it for the next week, where I'm having to kind of baby my leg and get it back into shape. Things that cause flare-ups, stress is huge. Stress is terrible for anybody, but if you have lymphedema, it's detrimental. Heat. When the weather changes, a lot of times I just, swell up. I feel horrible. It takes a lot out of me when it gets hot. When it gets super cold, same thing, but the heat is the worst. Heat causes me to swell up every time. Eating bad. I don't eat processed foods. I don't eat fast foods. I don't drink soda. I eat a high alkaline diet most of the time, which is a lot of greens. I go through times where I'm super strict on my diet, and I go through times where, I'm a little bit more lazy, but, still bottom line, I have to be conscious what I eat all the time. Somebody asked me what was the thing that sucked the most about lymphedema. Every single aspect of it. Because as much as I refuse to allow it to control my life, I know it does. Because I always have to think about it. If I want to go dancing, I know I'm going to pay for it for a couple of days after. If I want to go do this or that, I always have to think about it. And but I am fortunate because I did get information early enough that I was able to get it under control with diet. And I'm stubborn, so I do get really stubborn, and I refuse to allow it to ruin my life. I've lost a lot of my kids' childhood, and I'm not going to lose any more. And, it's sad because insurance, they don't pay for a lot of the treatment that is needed for people with lymphedema. The compression garments that I wore cost just around $800, and I needed a new compression garment every 6 months. There's pumps. A lot of people use the lymphedema pumps. There's all sorts of different devices that people use that all cost a lot of money, and insurances don't pay for it. There's a lot of organizations that are fighting, trying to get this changed. But considering that your lymphatic system is the most important system in your body, it's sad that it's not recognized, and the medical people don't know how to take care of it, don't know how to treat it, and the insurance companies don't recognize it as a necessity. They think that a swollen leg is cosmetic, even though this swollen leg can cause so many health issues and all these other problems. So today's March 6th, World Lymphedema Day. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know this was a long video, but it was important for me to share. Over the last few months, I've heard a lot of very brave people that have come out and shown their legs and shown their compression garments and shown, stood up and said, "This is me," and the best you guys got from me was the little picture in the corner. But I appreciate all of you and all of your support, and thank you so much for watching this. Please take a minute, go to YouTube, subscribe, share, leave me comments, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Next time we'll talk about photography. We'll see you guys.